There's plenty of ways to get lost on IL-2 if you're flying on a server with no GPS icons such as the TAW or Finnish servers. If you're struggling with navigation, feel free to watch my videos on navigating in the description below. With practice, it will become instinctive and very rewarding. In the meantime, chances are at some stage you'll find yourself lost, geographically embarrassed, disorientated, or misplaced from time to time. This video will hopefully help you out in locating yourself on the map in any scenario by following these 4 easy steps. Step 1. Admit you're lost. If the terrain below you doesn't look like what you're expecting to see, and you've got that uneasy feeling in the pit of your stomach, don't make the situation worse, just admit you're lost and do the lost procedure. 2. Stop the error from getting bigger. I like to put the aircraft into a gentle left-hand or right-hand turn, trim it out so it flies itself. Do not turn too steeply or you'll be spending all your time trying to control the aircraft. Just a nice, easy, gentle turn so that you stay in roughly the same area is fine. Step 3, locate your position. Now this is the hard part. You've got to find a really distinctive feature on the ground, like a big lake, and then try and locate it on your map. Also give yourself 3 reasons why where you think you are is where you actually are. Don't just make a snap decision. 4, get back on track. Let's look at some pro tips before we continue with a practical demonstration of the lost procedure. So let's take a look at the map they provide you with in IL-2. It's laid out conventionally, so north is up, south is down, west is to the left as you look at it, and east is to the right. Each of the squares is 10 kilometers across, and each of the squares inside is a little over 3 kilometers across. Fighters will cruise at approximately 8 kilometers a minute, and bombers will cruise at roughly 6 kilometers a minute. That's important to know, so you know that a fighter will cross one of those squares in slightly over 1 minute, and a bomber will cross one of the big squares in a little under 2 minutes. Map scale is really important, so if I want to fly from this airfield here to this airfield here, I want to have the map zoomed in an appropriate amount so I don't have to screw around with it in flight. As you can see where it's zoomed out now, I can see the whole map, but it doesn't really help me to navigate because it's just zoomed out too far. Likewise, if I zoom in like this, it's just too confined and I can't see the route. If I was going to fly this route, I would have it zoomed in around there. I can see where I'm going, I can see all the navigation features en route, and I've got a good overall picture. Using the mouse pointer is also helpful. Whenever you pinpoint your position, drop the mouse pointer on that location and leave it there. The good thing about not having a clickable cockpit in IL-2 is that you don't need to use the mouse for anything when you're flying around. The only time you use the mouse is when you're looking at the map. So drop it on a point that you've pinpointed yourself over and leave it there. It'll make your life a lot easier. Altitude is your friend when you're navigating in IL-2. As you can see from the height we're at now, I can see a long distance in every direction, and it makes picking up features and figuring out where I am quite simple. Conversely, if we dive in down on the deck, you can see how hard it is to see anything. So here we are approaching about 150 feet, and you can see it's damn near impossible to see anything. I'm so focused on not hitting the ground, I can't look outside and pick up features. I can see there seems to be a lake somewhere in front of me, and there's a couple of tree lines, but that's about all I'm picking up at this stage. So if you ever find yourself lost and you're flying at low level, pick it up back up to altitude and do yourself a favor. So here we are, even just at a few thousand feet, everything's much easier to see and navigating becomes a lot simpler. Try to navigate using rivers and large towns to assist you. We'll be aware of any significant features on coastlines. Coastlines make it very easy to pinpoint your position. Just be aware that on the Kuban map, which has a very distinctive coastline to the south, that none of the hills that are on the map are actually marked on the map. There's no terrain elevation on any of the IL-2 maps, which can make fixing your position a little harder than it needs to be. So just look at the edge of the coastline rather than the terrain elevation. Let's take a quick look at each of the main aviation maps in IL-2. I recommend that if you're unfamiliar with the maps, you just do a quick map recce before you start flying. This is the Kuban map. It's definitely the easiest one to find your way around on. As you can see in the west, there's lots of distinctive water features and coastlines. The south coast here has some very distinctive inlets, and the main body of the map has lots of interesting water features and big towns. Really, if you're struggling with navigation, I'd probably start out on this map and practice here. The next easiest map would be the Stalingrad map. As you can see in the eastern part of the map, you've got the Volga River, and that's quite distinctive and easy to fix yourself on. You've got this, I think this is the Don River here, which once again is relatively easy to pick out features on. and then you've got these distinctive lakes down here. You've got the big rectangular forest. So I'd just be having a quick look at this before I went flying and figure out which area I'm operating in and what sort of features I'm looking out for. Probably the next easiest map is your Rhineland map. You've got the Rhine River running more or less through the center of the map. Over in the west here, you've got distinctive coastlines. This is a fairly simple map to navigate on. The tricky bit sometimes is being able to determine which of these towns are which, because they're all roughly the same shape, and there's lots of canals running through the map. But this is a fairly easy map to navigate on in the summertime, and it's lots of fun because there's lots of big towns. Now, without a doubt, the hardest map in IL-2 is the Moscow map. As you can see, it's all pretty much the same. It's very flat. There's no big tall features to navigate towards. Moscow itself is actually off the edge of the map, so you're stuck with trying to navigate between all these towns that all look roughly the same. There's lots of rivers running through the map, lots of vegetation, and this map in the wintertime is without a doubt the hardest map to navigate on, and I still find myself occasionally getting geographically embarrassed when I use it. So let's take a look at the differences between what you're going to see on a summer map and a winter map. So here we are on the Moscow map in a PE2, and as you can see, I'm at 1500 meters, and you can see the river over there is quite easy to pick up. Once again, this is the hardest map to navigate on. I find that using towns and rivers in the summertime is the best way to go, but as you'll see in a second, using the rivers is no go in the wintertime, and you really just have to rely on the towns and any distinctively shaped forests that you may find. So this is the same map in the wintertime. I've started in exactly the same spot. As you can see, the differences are fairly significant. That river that was over there that was quite easy to see is now very difficult to spot. You can just see it weaving through that forest there. So wintertime, I would recommend navigating by finding towns, and if you can, distinguish between the different shaped forests. You can see there's a town there just at my right 1 o'clock just off the nose. So if I was lost, I'd probably anchor myself on that town and then try and figure out where it is on the map. So another handy feature in some of the aircraft in IL-2 is the homing beacon. You can see it just to the right of the gun sight there, and that needle's going to point to the nearest friendly airfield, provided that you're within range. Okay, so let's have a look at a practical demonstration of the loss procedure. So here I am on the dreaded Moscow map in the winter time at low level. I spawned in a single player mission and set the autopilot on my aircraft, and then I went and made a coffee. And I've just come back and put the headset on, and I honestly have no idea where I am. I don't have the map zoomed in anywhere in particular. I know I started up around this part of the map, the northwest corner. So now I'm going to do the loss procedure to figure out exactly where I am. Now, as you've noticed, I've just flown past a large town, so that's going to help me a lot. So first step one, admit that you're lost. Well, I'm definitely lost. I have no idea where I am. Step two, stop the error from getting any bigger. So I'm going to put myself into a left-hand orbit on this position here, and I'm also going to pick up my altitude because I started out really low and I couldn't see much in any direction. Step three is look for something familiar on the ground or try and locate your position. I've got a nice big town there behind me, and that's going to be really helpful in locating where I am. So what I'm actually going to do is fly to that town and anchor myself over that town and then figure out where I am. And I think this should be relatively straightforward. Now, if that town wasn't there, any other town would do. I think there's one off the right wing here somewhere. So I'd anchor myself on that town there, and that would also do. As long as you've got like some idea of where you are on the map, anchoring yourself over any town is fine. Now, you'll notice that I can't see any rivers or water features because everything's frozen. So they really are quite useless in the winter map. So here we are. This is a big town. I'm heading north. It's a big town and it has a river running east to west through it. So let's take a look at the map. Could be that one, could be that one. I've got a feeling it's Zev, I think is how you say it. So I need three reasons why it's Zev. Well, we've got the river running east to west. Should be a railway line coming out of the north and an airfield off to the east. So let's see if it meets that criteria. Okay, so we've definitely got the river. I can see an airfield off the right wing. It's like a V-shaped airfield, and looks like that's a railway line. So I think I've figured out where I am, which was a miracle. I thought it was going to be a lot harder than that. So then from here, you just got to get back on track. Now, I didn't have anywhere particular I was going, so getting back on track, we'll just call it landing at this airfield here, which is right on the nose. So, ladies and gents, that is the loss procedure in real time. Just to recap, first step, just like admitting you're an alcoholic, is admit that you're lost. Step 2, stop the error from getting any bigger by putting yourself into a left or right hand orbit. Step 3, the hard part, find a prominent feature on the ground and anchor yourself to it, and then figure it out where it is on the map. Step 4, get back on track. Hope this was a helpful tutorial, and I look forward to getting shot down by you all sometime soon. Have a nice day.